workshop meeting. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance by saying, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. and at this time to open up the floor to public comments. Okay, hearing none and seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 3. And I'll call on Becky Shaw to discuss the Cumberland County Housing Authority consistency with the consolidation plan. Becky?
Good morning. Each year, the Cumberland County Housing Authority prepares an annual plan, and this year it's also the 5-year plan for submission to HUD, detailing how it will expend the housing choice voucher and public housing dollars. And part of the PHA plan requires local official certification that the plan is consistent with local consolidated plans. And we have identified that the county's consolidated plans prepared every 5 years identified affordable housing as a priority need. So the availability of the housing choice vouchers within Cumberland County and public housing within the county meets this need by providing working families, seniors, and those with disabilities to live in decent, safe, and sanitary housing that is affordable to their families' budgets. So the Housing Authority is asking for commissioner approval of the certification of consistency.
Any questions, commissioners? Thank you, Becky.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yes.
Has that been circulated broadly in the community?
It has. We have had 2 resident advisory board meetings. It was advertised on our, in the local paper, in the Sentinel, and also in our website.
Thank you, Ann. Thank you, Becky. Next, move on to agenda item 4, and I'm calling Tammy Bender to discuss budget resolution 2020-7. Tammy?
Evening, Commissioners. Finance is requesting approval for 2 2019 budget resolutions. First one is for hotel tax, increasing revenue and expenses by $100,000 due to receiving more hotel tax than what we budgeted for. And the second one is for the DA federal forfeitures. We're increasing expenses by $4,000, and it's due to changes in federal regulations that we're opening up a new fund that was created for these federal monies.
Any questions for Tammy?
No.
Thank you, Tammy. Commissioners, agenda item 5 is a letter that was prepared on Tuesday, February 18th, addressed to Rich Barr, the general manager of Capital Area Transit, and it was to inform them that the amount of $345,411 has been appropriated for his annual local match share subsidy to the Capital Area Transit. So at today's meeting, I would like you to reaffirm approval of that Cumberland County annual letter that was sent out. It was scanned, sent to him, and forwarded to him via regular mail.
So you're asking for action today?
Yes.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to approve the approval of Cumberland County's annual budget local match shares subsidy to Capital Area Transit retroactive through January 1, 2020.
I'll second that motion.
Moved and seconded, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. Next, I'd like to call on Stacy to discuss agenda item 6, contracts and grants. Stacy?
Good morning, everyone. Agenda items 6.1 A and B are existing contracts, contract extensions, or addenda with no additional cost or increase to the county, and they are as follows. Aging and Community Services Grant from the Commonwealth of PA and PA Department of Agriculture. This is a continuation grant in the amount of $1,000. And also MHIDD and NAMI, Cumberland and Perry County PA contract. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding either of the contracts? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 6.2, which consists of new contracts, vendor services, grants, and contracts with increases or decreases to the county. And I'll begin by calling on Joan to discuss the contract for aging and community services. Joan?
Good morning. This is a new contract for professional services for Nancy Niemoyer. It is for an ombudsman supervisor. The state requires that we keep that specific area of in the rest of the aging department due to conflict of interest. So we've had to create this position for Nancy. The rate of pay is $30 an hour, and it is a yearly contract.
Do you have any questions for Joan? Thank you, Joan. Melissa will be joining us via video teleconference to discuss the addendum for favorite healthcare staffing. Melissa?
Good morning. This is one of our agency's favorite healthcare staffing, and what you're doing here is requesting that the agency, if they call off within the 2-hour period before their personnel is supposed to start, that they will pay us. We have to pay them. We've reached out to these agencies, and they have to pay us for the same courtesy that if they call off late, they have to pay us 2 hours of that person's pay. Look.
Do you have any questions for Melissa?
Just blank.
Okay, thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Teresa, mine's like that too. It's completely gone.
If you, I'll take yours.
Technical.
Eric is actually joining us to discuss a grant award from the District Attorney's Office. Eric?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a $150,000 no-match grant from PCCB for the Paul Carbell Forensic Science Improvement Grant, and to put towards a new instrument in the laboratory. And we're asking that you accept it.
What's the instrument?
Liquid chromatography instrument.
Oh,
So it's by half. And I'm running the grant for the other half this week, so.
good question.
Any questions? Okay, thank you, Eric. Kirk is joining us by video teleconference to discuss finance liquid fuels contract as well as agenda item F. Kirk?
Good morning, Commissioners. First item is for Sample Bridge. It's our engineering agreement with HRG. Now that we've left the project for construction, we need to add on the Construction Administration Construction Observation Task to their contract. We also have a few deducts from their existing contract of scope of work items that not need to do. End result is an increase of $273,000, and that's primarily due to the construction phase services for the construction phase of the project.
Any questions about Sample Bridge?
So we're going to move on to letter F then?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Commissioners, for that item, we have, the first one is the Fleet 3 Lift Coordinator. So as you recall, we're working with DEP to implement the Phase 3 watershed plan. They have provided $100,000 of funding per year for 3 to 5 years to hire a coordinator. In our case, we didn't want to hire a position, but rather hire a consultant to help us implement the plan. After an RFP review process, we're recommending selecting HRG for the Phase 3 Lift Coordinator. We've provided you with their contract. We're using our existing retainer agreement we have with HRG for our bridge program, which is broadly written and allows them to perform other tasks, and that this will be applicable. We had Solicitor Brennan review that for us, but this contract will be for $100,000. First year, we'll be primarily putting together that Phase 3 watershed improvement plan of how we're removing 2 million pounds of nitrogen in 25.
Any questions about agenda item F? Thank you, Kirk. Andy?
Okay, the other items there, for Borough Lemoyne, that's a land partnerships grant contract. That's for improvements at Negley Park. The other piece of that is an intergovernmental cooperation agreement. That's a requirement for the grant, for them to execute that. And the final issue there is Campo Borough. That's the Goddard Trail extension. Again, that's a land partnerships project that's been reviewed and approved for funding.
Any questions for Kirk? Thank you, Kirk.
Yep.
Annie is joining us to discuss 2 contracts for MHIDD. Annie?
Good morning, Commissioners. Actually, we have 2 contracts. One is for early intervention, and it's for an additional $10,000. It's a new provider with early intervention, and they provide occupational therapy and special instruction. So that's something new for us, based on services that are needed and being utilized with our department. And then the second is specific for respite, providers bold, and it's an increase of $49,909, almost $50,000. And again, it's based on services being authorized in HIPSIS, our ability to be a provider. Do you have any questions?
So Annie, the first contract, it is for just 6 months, is that correct?
Yes.
6 months?
Any other questions for Annie? Thank you, Annie.
Thank you.
Claudia is joining us by video teleconference to discuss 2 contracts and a grant for public safety. Claudia?
Good morning, everyone. Public Safety is seeking your approval of a no-cost agreement with the Monitoring Association, LLC, and that will allow their automated secure alarm protocol, known as ASAP, to connect with our public safety answering point, known as PSAP, computer-aided dispatch system. And this is known as ASAP to PSAP. Basically, this is an electronic method of delivering the alarm information when an alarm monitoring central station receives it. As it stands now, they have to pick up the phone and dial us and then verbally transfer the information to us. What this allows is for their computer system basically to connect with our CAD system and electronically transfer that information. There will be a pop-up window of some sort that shows up on the dispatcher's screen, and then it can be immediately transmitted to the field units. So this is a no-cost agreement, and the terms of service that we must agree to have that connection established. And it has been reviewed by our team, the IAMBO team, and the solicitor as well. Any questions on that one?
You say no cost. It's
Correct.
no cost at all.
No cost for this element of the connection. So this is just an agreement for their connection
Okay.
to happen with ours. Yep.
Thank you, Claudia.
It has to be treated separately than some of the other services.
Right, got it.
Okay. The second item on the agenda, the hazmat team is asking for the board's approval to apply for the participating department recognition program out of the Commonwealth of PA Office of the State Fire Commissioner. This program is offered by the State Fire Academy to recognize organizations that support, promote, and encourage their emergency response personnel to become certified in various levels of the programs administered by their office. Along with the application, the team must submit their roster and all the levels of certification that they have. And we have, I believe it's 20 out of 22 that are certified at some level, so that's a fantastic status. I'm sorry, 20 out of 23 of the active members, and I believe that reaches us at a silver level of recognition. This is a no-cost application, and it is for a 3-year period, so it's renewed and reviewed by both our team and the State Fire Commissioner every 3 years. Any questions on that one? All right. The last item, we're seeking your approval of a grant agreement of state funding from PEMA as part of the Act 12 of 2015 911 uniform funding. As you know, up to 15% of the funds collected are held by PEMA to establish and enhance and operate the maintain statewide interconnectivity for the PSAPs. And that's distributed through a grant process to fund specific projects that are along the priorities set forth by PEMA and the 911 Advisory Board. Due to the new requirements for 911 center certifications, also established by PEMA, the South Central Task Force applied on behalf of all 8 counties in the region to get grant money to be able to cover the cost of standardized call-taking processes across the region. Specifically for Cumberland County, this grant funding would be used to purchase certified software-based law enforcement and fire protocols, similar to the ones that are currently used for medical protocols. The questions, it's like a series-based questions related to whatever the caller is identifying that their need is. So if it's a law enforcement need, there's a series of questions related to the nature of the call. This funding will also be included in our annual 911 Uniform Fund reporting and is only able to be allocated to this specific project. The grant award for Cumberland County is up to $453,943, and that covers our budgetary figures in the quote that we received from the vendor for the initial software purchase, as well as year 1 and 2 of maintenance. Years 3 and beyond would be our expense. And also there's an application fee that's not eligible under this grant either. However, all of those items are eligible under the regular 911 funding. We're actively working with the vendor to obtain a final quote in which we'll present before the capital review team and then of course to you for the final approval before that happens. So this is just for the grant agreement, and the performance period is January 1 through December 31 of this year. Any questions on that one?
Thank you, Claudia.
You're welcome. Have a good day, everybody.
You too.
That's all I have, Sandy.
Thank you, Stacy. Agenda item 7, Justin Miller will be joining us by video teleconferencing to discuss the letter that is currently in your packet addressed to the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. Justin?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is the second aspect of registering our 2020 household hazardous waste program. Similar to other years, we will be piggybacking on the Department of Ag's Chem Suite contract, which allows us to use their contractor to perform services for our program. In doing so, they agreed to pay for up to $20,000 disposal costs of any pesticides that are turned in at the program. The first aspect was the application for registration at DEP, which I discussed with you a few weeks ago. I normally try to do these together, but because we're starting a little earlier this year, I had to separate them. But just as an FYI, DEP has already approved the program from their side, which means we're eligible to get 50% reimbursement of grant funds from them. So this PDA letter is the final grant funding aspect of the program. Any questions?
No.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Agenda item 8, John Monk is joining us by video teleconferencing to discuss authorization to advertise for bids. John?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a request to advertise for bid for trash removal for Cumberland County government buildings. And the contract expires, the current contract, on April 30th, 2020.
Any questions for John? Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to agenda item 9, and I will call on Commissioner DeFilippo to discuss the reappointment recommendations to the Agricultural Land Preservation Board. Commissioner DeFilippo?
Yeah, thanks, Sandy. Boyd Weary, who was the chairman of the Ag Board, has had to resign due to health reasons. The vice chairman, Diane State, well, we had a reorganization of the board at our last Ag Board meeting. Vice president and secretary were selected. However, I believe the county code says that the chairman of the Board of Commissioners must appoint the chairman of the Ag Board. I know in the past years of, my first term, all three of us voted on that appointment. I don't care what direction we follow, but I would like to strongly recommend Diane Stavey. She's been a stalwart member of the Ag Board. She currently now is acting as chairman and has done a good job, so I would highly recommend that we approve her for the chairmanship for calendar year 2020. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Commissioner DeFilippo.
Thank you.
Agenda item 10, I'd like to call Commissioner Eichelberger to discuss the appointment recommendation for the Cumberland County Recycling and Waste Authority. Commissioner Eichelberger?
Right, I had mentioned, I think, in our last meeting that a recommendation nomination for the vacancy would be coming forth, and we do have a strong recommendation from the group to appoint Richard Castranio of Upper Allen to the vacant seat that's reserved for a first-class township to represent first-class townships on that board. So the board very enthusiastic about the different aspects of Rich's background, and very enthusiastically endorsed him. So they're putting his name forward. So Monday we would like to take action to make that appointment as a 5-year term, as you can see on the agenda, effective February 24, would expire December 31 of 24. We have his resume. So if anybody has any questions, me, or you can.
No
Yes,
objection, he's a good guy.
Thank you, Commissioner Eichelberger. Next, move on to agenda item 11, and I'll call on Solicitor Brenneman to discuss the Cumberland County Industrial Development Authority reappointment recommendations.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is an opportunity for you to make various reappointments to the CCMDA. You may recall from last year that I think you made an appointment to, or reappointment to that board. This is an effort to have the members of the board have staggered terms. Typically, the period of an appointment is 5 years. So you're going to see different time periods on here in an effort to get that board in coordination with the Municipality Authorities Act.
Any questions for Keith?
No. Thanks for putting that together.
Thank
Sure.
you. Agenda item 12, I'd like to call Commissioner Froschke to discuss the appointment recommendations for Cumberland County Library System Board.
So the Cumberland County Library System Board is recommending the appointment for 3-year terms, the appointment of Hope Miller and Cindy Pimentel. And those would expire, Hope's would expire February 24th, 2020, and Cindy's would expire December 31, 2022.
Thank you, Commissioner Froschke. Agenda item 13, I will discuss Cumberland County Commission for Women recommendations. I had sent to you last night as a heads up that these are going to be in the workshop for today's consideration and approval on Monday. Cumberland County Commission for Women would like to recommend Alexandria Anastasio for an appointment running from January 2020 to December of 2022. Deb Jacobs recommending appointment from January 2020 to December of 2022. And Jordan Pine to fill the vacancy of Sophronia Perry through December of 2021. So they are looking for action on Monday.
How many
for these
total?
two.
How many would this
This
be?
And you have the dates of the next
Yes, I do.
meetings. And
Yes, I do.
we have it on our calendar as well.
Yes,
so.
yes.
Okay, so that's all I have for that, unless you have any additional questions.
I don't have an additional question, but I am going to make a comment.
Okay.
Yesterday, I went to the Children and Youth Advisory Committee, and they are really looking to bring some new life into that committee, and that is the Citizens Committee. And if I remember correctly, the purpose of the Commission of for Women is to help women and children, and will now have 22 members of that board, and they all should be scooting over to children and youth to assist with that. And I'd like to see more than one of them on the board of the Citizens Advisory Committee. There's no reason to not be doing that.
Okay. And I think as part of our meeting, when we have it with them, that we'll
Yes, I think that's a great idea, Sandy. Thank you.
Okay, next we'll move on to Commissioner Liaison Reports, and we'll begin with Commissioner Eichelberger.
Okay, full of items here. We had, we already heard from Justin regarding the recycling of the appointment to the vacancy, which was the main topic of discussion at our meeting last week. Normally, there would have been a meeting this week that was canceled because the last meeting was a special meeting due to the fact that the previous meeting was not able to take place. So that's on my calendar, but there's nothing to report because there was no meeting. So that's, we dealt with the contract as well. That was the other item that was discussed at the prior meeting. So let's see, MHIED is meeting today. Of course, we got the LTSR update from Andy yesterday and dealt with the additional issues contracts today. So I don't really have anything for you on that just yet. Okay, Capital Area Transit also has a meeting next week. You may recall, I'm the liaison, but we generally don't send a commissioner unless there's something special going on. And we periodically will have a meeting with our board appointees prior to that if there's an important vote or anything. I'm not aware of anything coming up, but we may want to check to see if there's any need for them to seek consultation with the commissioners for this or not. I did speak to Scott Weiland on the telephone last week, and he gave me a little update. So things are going pretty well with the regionalization discussion. Of course, there's a number of key decisions there, but he said that the tenor and tone of the discussion has been much more positive than what we've experienced, so that's trending well, but we should probably just check in with he and Al and see if there's anything they need to discuss with the commissioners for guidance, or if I need to attend for any reason as well. So, and just as an FYI, yesterday the Junior Leadership Cumberland group was hosted down at Claremont, and this is the second time the county has hosted that organization, which is I don't know how you describe it, but it's a competitive cohort of high school students. I believe they're all seniors, juniors rather, and from school districts all over the county, and they tour various facilities that are in the county and learn about community providers of services and other organizations. And a piece of that was Cumberland County government. So Vince and I were able to attend. Of course, they all wanted to meet the new commissioner, who was unable to for reasons to be there, but we promised them next time. It's always a good event. You know, we get really interesting questions. It's kind of I don't want to say cream of the crop of the student body, but you certainly have some excellent students and the kids who excel at what they're doing. They're very interested in questions of leadership and advancement for themselves and the community. And I thought it was just a terrific event, just like last year. So it's a bit impressive, some of the questions that we get. I know when I was a junior, I wasn't quite that up to snuff. So, but some of us are just late bloomers.
You're absolutely right.
So, anyway, but it is encouraging to see some of those young folks. So that was very nice. I was glad we had a chance to do that. Let's see, a little bit about Economic Development Corporation. We had on Monday, we had a policy and planning meeting down here at Cadig, meeting with our facilitator. The Policy and Planning Committee is really gelling and really doing the heavy lifting on the strategic planning initiative, probably more so than we originally expected, but that's going particularly well. We want to be respectful of the time for our board members, so we didn't want to have too many meetings for the general membership, and have shifted more of the responsibilities over for the grunt work, basically, over to the Policy and Planning Committee. It's going really well. We've got some new folks who hadn't been involved in this before, and we actually invited a few more new folks, some board members. And I'm pretty impressed with how that's going. The meetings with the facilitator, I think everybody was there except one, which is pretty good. I mean, it was, for some of us, for some people it was a holiday. For most of it wasn't, so they did take time out of their work schedules to come in. And I think we're getting our money's worth for sure out of that, because we're not paying them anything. but we are paying the facilitator. She's doing an excellent job. So I just wanted to let you know, as more detail comes forward on that, I'll be happy to keep you updated as we Also, we're going to be, the next meeting of that policy committee is the 25th. And by the way, just for clarification, even though I'm the delegate commissioner to the executive committee, that policy and planning committee is certainly open to any of the board members and especially the commissioners at any point if you'd like to sit in. I'm sure that they would object to some participation as well. It's a pretty small group, so some additional input would be fine. No need to feel obligated. I think we're both interviewed now by the facilitator. So, but that is, I think, a pretty impressive process. I think we're going to have good results coming out at the next meeting. As I said, is the 25th. This is rolling forward. It's probably, the entire process is probably going to conclude by the end of second quarter. Originally, it was first quarter, but the scope of work has expanded somewhat. That's not going to cost us anything, by the way. But there have been requests for some additional information sources and additional interviews and such, and facilitators graciously agreed to do those to ensure the completeness of our planning efforts. So I just want to mention too that I'm going to be participating in a meeting with our EDC folks. We're meeting with Perry County, which is a very formative economic development committee. They haven't done a whole lot. They've had a few false starts in trying to really do something in local economic development for themselves. And they've got some new folks, they've got new commissioners, and they're interested in meeting with our EDC folks. And since I was here and played a role in the formation of our EDC, they asked me if I would like to attend, so I'm going to be sitting in on that, assuming that the schedule works out. Right now it does, but that should be very interesting. We've offered to assist them in the past, and I think they may be in a better position to actually utilize some of that help now. So I'll keep you apprised of what goes on with that. Related to that, last Friday we had the meeting of, I've been referring to the Workforce Investment Board, and our Workforce Investment Board is actually rebranded a couple years ago to South Central PA Works. And they've asked us to really start using that name instead of WIB, even though it is the state, the regional affiliate of the statewide WIB. So it is a WIB, but I'm going to try to use that name more regularly. So if you hear me say South Central PA Works, it's the WIB. And I'm going to do my best to keep adopting that. So their executive director, Jesse McCree, we've invited him to participate in the policy and planning effort of the EDC, and he's graciously agreed to provide us with some excellent market data that we're in severe need of. And he's very interested in what we're doing on the workforce development area, because that, of course, is their area. They've been looking to partner with local partners, especially in the economic development area, for years. We've had some discussion with them, but I think we're going to be taking that to the next level. And there's a prospect that we would have access to some additional state funding as a result. This is an area that is now starting to garner a lot of interest by the Commonwealth, so there's more dollars available. There are a lot of local players who are starting to get into the workforce development area. We were more or less ahead of the curve as a county on that issue, so we feel we're in a position to really be the pathfinder for some other partners, and maybe the coordinator and catalyst for some of the efforts at the localized level. So we're going to be pursuing that as is feasible. And Jesse is interested in coming in to speak to our group at a finance committee meeting, is what I suggested to him. He'd like to come in, talk a little bit about what they do and how they revamp their effort over the years, what the role of the career links, what that role is in our community. Of course, we've got career links here in Carlisle, but we don't have a lot of interaction with them. But they definitely play a larger role, and a potentially larger role in the workforce development questions. So he'd like to come in and brief us. He's offering it to all the counties, but impressed upon him that I think it's very timely given where we are, what we're doing in workforce development. So Sandy, I'll coordinate with you. We're trying to set something up. So I think you'll find that really interesting. And just very impressive individual. So, the only other item I wanted to mention was that finance office is going to be having a demonstration of this performance measurement software module that they've been pursuing. And that's next Thursday, the 27th. I've been asked to sit in on that. I'm very interested in sitting in on that. So I crack some of the old textbooks on performance management and make sure I go in with the relevant questions and no more than just the questions. But so that'll be the 27th. I'm looking forward to that very much. I think that's something that could really take our operational efforts to the next level. And it really fits in with what we had espoused when we appointed Dana as the chief finance officer and provided some additional staffing to her that would help us address some underlying performance management issues. So this is really kind of the next major step in that evolution of our operations management. So looking forward to that. I'll keep you apprised of what goes on with that. That's everything I have. Any questions for me?
Thank you, Commissioner Burger.
So, let's see, I went to the Carlisle Ice Fest. I thought that was a great event. Enjoyed myself. My kids had a good time. I don't know if anyone else made it to it, but it certainly is a fabulous thing that's right outside our door. Let's see, I went to the library system meeting, and they are in the process of picking their provider for their strategic plan. They've got 2 of them that they're choosing between. I think that things are very exciting for the library at this point in time. They haven't had a strategic plan. I think the last one was done 5 years ago. I believe that they are legally obligated to have a new strategic plan done shortly. So I'm looking forward to good things from the library system. I was at the planning committee this morning, and a couple of very interesting things came up from the planning commission. And one is that they are concerned that we are not getting enough information out about the census. I went through all of the list of things that I know that the county is doing, but they talked a lot about the census. You know, there are a lot of people on that board that are parts of municipalities, and so I think that's something that we should be very, very aware of. The other thing that I think we need to be aware of is they also wanted to talk to me about all the new voter regs. And I know that things are really evolving for us on that. I have assured them that our Board of Elections is on top of all of those things, as I assured them that our Communications Department is on top of the census. So those are good things for us to know as we're out and about, that those like right there at planning, those 2 things, they wanted to talk with me about those things. The planning is also going to bring back to the commissioners, I guess maybe they wanted to bring it last year and then the election happened and they were waiting for me to appear, about environmental issues in terms of planning. And so they'll be coming to us with some type of a presentation. We should be anticipating that happening. Stormwater in the Chesapeake Bay are hot planning topics. So we need to stay on top of those. There's concern, of course, that we are spending money on things that are not helping the Chesapeake Bay situation. So there is some discussion about that. The planning meeting was very interesting. Every time I go there, I learn something new about the county and about what is going on there. As a reminder, there is some grant money available if you are a municipality that wants to change your comprehensive plan. The county is ready to help you, and there's probably some money there to assist with that. As I mentioned, I was at the Children and Youth Citizens Advisory Committee meeting. They are really looking to make that committee into something grand. With better participation, they're going to have their meetings at night instead of over the lunch hour so that more people can get there. And the idea is that they're going to figure out, is the Citizens Commission to let children and youth know how it should be working? Is it going to work in another way? But when I left that meeting, I thought this is almost a friends of kind of relationship where maybe they can help with some fundraising for some things that the county does not normally pay for, like Christmas gifts or things for staff, appreciation for staff, those kinds of things. And I think those are very important. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Foster.
I just have two observations.
Yeah.
Number one is the Planning Commission never asked any questions.
Well, you know what, because when I gave my liaison report, I mentioned that we're knee-deep in census and we're knee-deep in voting, and they were like, hey.
You instigated it.
I did instigate it. And the
No.
woman who was there, who is on the Carlisle Borough Council, she also said that we need to be looking out for a letter from the Carlisle Borough Council, because they're going to actually ask if maybe there can be a place out here in the Carlisle community where mail-in ballots can be dropped off. And I said, well, I don't know, that certainly sounds like a huge security concern. But she did say, you know, be prepared for the letters. So that was it. That was it was very interesting. People are really, what is exciting to me is that people want to vote, they want their vote counted, they want to have a voice, and they're excited about the expansion of their voting rights. So I thought that was a very positive thing.
My other observation
Yeah.
was, I didn't get to attend the Ice Fest, but I did see, I guess they kick it off out here.
Yeah.
What was that? So I did get to look out the window. I noticed them doing the big ice festival thing, and like, what, 20 yards away, simultaneously there was a climate change demonstration. So I wasn't sure exactly how to connect those two, if there was anything, but it did cause me to do a little thing.
Well, one of the things that was interesting on Saturday is that those ice sculptures were melting like no one's business, because it was so warm. Yeah.
On the bright side, Virginia's gonna get snow today in Carolinas.
You got something against Virginia?
No.
Okay,
I'm just saying, that's what the weather people say. All right, thank you, Commissioner Foskey. Commissioner DeFilipo.
Thanks, Andy. Monday night, I attended the Capital Region Council of Government meeting, and the main part of the meeting was a presentation given by Daniel Cohen of the Cohen Law Group. And my colleagues, I gave them a copy of the presentation a couple of days ago. But what it is, the gist of the meeting, the presentation was about regulation of wireless facilities in public rights of way. And wireless data, apparently we have an explosion going on in the country, and it's increasing quite a bit. And these new wireless facilities are like, they look a little smaller than a telephone pole, and they're being placed in public right-of-ways. What's interesting, these do not expand coverage, it just boosts the broadband capacity to allow more rapid download speeds, etc. And it's estimated right now there's about 150,000 of these poles as of the end of 2018. And it's expected to be about 455,000 at the end of this year. The issue right now, the Federal Telecommunications Act of 1996 preserves the zoning authority of state and local governments over the placement and construction of these things. There is right now state legislation, in fact there has been for the last several years, to pretty much strip away the authority of municipalities to have any say over where these facilities go. And right now, the current bill is House Bill 1400. Previous bills have been defeated or not even brought up to a vote, but this one looks like it may come up for a vote in March. Two of our two state reps that are on this committee are Reps Closure and Haffey. One of the concerns the attorney mentioned, and it was a good concern, that if this bill would pass and the authority is taken away from municipalities, the next possible move could be the cable franchise authority, the franchise fees, and municipalities, their right-of-way authority would be taken away from them as well. So hopefully we'll have some more news on this. I was not aware of this. I don't know if any of you folks were. But and I don't know how they would impact our public safety safety in our cell towers, probably, I don't know, but it's something we may want to look into. And later today, I'll be attending the housing redevelopment meeting, and tomorrow the Department of Aging. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Nicolino. Agenda item 15, I would like to report that executive sessions will hold on the following dates in 2020, February 10th, 1:45 p.m., and February 19th at 9:30 a.m., all regarding personnel issues. Is there any other business that needs to come before the Board of Commissioners today? Somebody here, somebody guessing on. Keith?
No.
Okay. All right. Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.